Hello and welcome to another stream. I am Brian, the Unskilled Commander, and this is Who's That Creator, where I bring you guys a Magic the Gathering content creator, big or small, so that you don't miss out on really awesome content. Today I'm joined by the very talented and really cool Misha. So I will put your link tree in the chat here because I'm the only one that can do that. Have it set up so that only I'd put links in. So first question, the easiest of them all and the most generic that we're all used to from streaming. Please tell everyone who you are, what you do, and where they can find you.
Absolutely. I can answer this one pretty quick and easy. Uh, wow, if I can just, get my brain on right. Hi, everybody. I'm Magic Mishamigo, or my real name is Misha, if you want to call me that instead. I'm a Magic the Gathering content creator. I'm best known as a cosplayer, but I've also done casting. I'm a member of Birds of Paradise. I sometimes will make silly videos when inspiration hits. I do a little bit of everything, and I love that. But yeah, I am a self-proclaimed silly little guy in the magic community, and I'm really happy to be here with you tonight, Brian.
Cool, thank you. And yeah, so definitely go check out Misha's Linktree and her socials so that you can see some of the really cool cosplays she's done. They're really fun and they're really awesome, and you do a great job. So we'll get to that too. But I did want to ask, so is there like a story why is it just like, because you go by Magic Misha, like what's the story behind the name? Like the additions to it.
So when I was in college, one of my sorority sisters started calling me Mishamigo. I didn't realize at the time that, Misha Collins on Supernatural had people calling like that was his nickname, like
Mm.
people called him that. And one of my sorority sisters started calling me it. And I was just like, oh, that's so funny and cute. And I took 6 years of Spanish,
Hmm.
Misha, amigo,
Right.
friend Misha. Yeah. And I was like, I like that nickname. So then when I eventually started doing content creation, I actually my Instagram username was Magic Mish because I liked magical girls and stuff.
Hmm.
And I eventually ended up changing it to be Magic Niche Amigo just so that it would, you know, be a nickname I liked.
Hmm.
And it I still do cosplay magical girls, but now I also play magic, so like the magic part was just perfect for both.
Yeah,
So
that was
it
very
ended up being
serendipitous.
yeah, I was like, huh, I wonder how I got here. It's like it was, foretold. But yeah, that's kind of how it came together. It's just it was a college nickname, and I cosplayed magical girls, and then I started playing magic.
That works. I like it. I have to admit, like for the longest time, whenever I would see it, my brain, even though like, especially hearing you say it out loud, like and all that's, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Now I get it. Like now I really get the name, But I saw it as like missing no, the Pokemon. That's like, So that's what I always kind of thought of
Yes.
it. That's why I could never say it right because I was always messing it up in my head, trying to say missing no and figure out how Misha fit in there. So it's like, oh yeah, it's just Misha Migo. It's a Migo. I get it now. All
It
right.
doesn't help that, if you don't know what my real name is, then it kind of throws people off
Hmm.
because Misha's not a very common name. And
Right.
so, if you know my name, then it's like, oh, yeah, Misha Migo. So, but if you don't know, there's a lot of different ways it could be pronounced. And trust me, I've heard of a variety of them. So,
I'm
but I'll
sure.
never hold it against anybody because as soon as I say it, it's just like, ah, that makes a lot of sense.
So you mentioned how like the magic came after. So what got you into Magic the Gathering? Just as a playing it.
So I started playing Magic because I wanted my now husband to pay attention to me. We were long distance. We were friends, and we met while I was working out of town. And then I went back home, and I was very into him, and he was just like, "No, I think it should just be friends. We don't live close to each other."
Sure.
And but we played video games together, so we would play video games, and I would see him on Steam, and we I would see him playing this MTGA thing, and I was like, MTGA, what is that? I have no idea what this is, but he's playing a lot of it, and he's not paying attention to me. So I guess I should figure out what MTGA is, so that if it's a multiplayer game, I can play with him, and he will pay attention to me. And so he started teaching me how to play Magic on Arena, and yeah. Little did he know that I would get way more into it than he was,
Hmm.
and now it's pretty much what my life revolved around.
Right. Hence the
So,
background.
uh,
Yes.
yeah,
That
5
is
years later, we're married, and magic has taken over my life.
that is super awesome. I love that story. That I didn't know that, and that's a great way because it's just it's sweet, and it's one of those things where you're like, hey, I don't care what is it, I'll learn it just so I can be with you, and it's like, oh, you know what, this is actually kind of cool. Get out of the way.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, this is actually a strategy game? Okay." My interest was piqued because I wanted your attention, but now my interest is really piqued because this is actually kind of fun.
So let's jump back again. What was your first cosplay period?
My very first cosplay was actually Sailor Mercury's school uniform because I was really into Sailor Moon and I joined this like it was a little cosplay group based out of Kansas City,
Hmm.
and we were, wanting to go to cons as like a full Sailor Moon group with all of like the inner
Nice.
and outer Senshi. And even though Jupiter has always been my favorite, she's the green one with
Hmm.
like thunder powers. They already had a Jupiter, but they needed a Mercury, and I was like, I like Mercury too. So I joined the group as their Mercury, and the school uniforms was one of the very first things that we wore together. And so I made Sailor Mercury's skirt and cosplayed her as my very first like real cosplay. Like I dressed up for Halloween and
Well,
stuff,
sure.
but I never like I would consider Sailor Mercury to be my first cosplay.
Okay. And then, like, thinking about that, like, what, and well, first of all, to what extent did you make the costume? And then, if it wasn't like you said, you made the skirt, but like, if that was kind of it, what would you consider your first true, like, I built this from scratch cosplay?
Yeah, the skirt was the only thing I made. So I got like a pattern from Joann's and like
Hmm.
bought the fabric and made it. And honestly, for it being my first time really sewing and doing something, like not too shabby.
Hmm.
But I bought the shirt and I bought a wig, and so it wasn't like I went all in. I would say that my Sailor Mercury Fuku, it's like their actual sailor uniforms with the
Hmm.
actual skirts and stuff. That would be my first all in cosplay because that was
Okay.
the next thing that we did as a group.
Hmm.
And you can buy them online, but we wanted them to be like nicer quality ones.
Sure.
And if you want a nicer quality one, you pretty much have to just make it yourself or pay a lot of money to get one made. And we all just, helped each
Hmm.
other make it. So that was very like my first big build. Like I bought like a white leotard as a base, but
Hmm.
I remember like making the full skirt and made it like detachable, had to make like the collar, had to make the choker and making like the little things for your gloves and
Right.
painting boots. So like that was my first time going out on like full out for a build, and it was really cool, and I made a lot of mistakes and had to redo stuff and like
Hmm.
but it turned out really good, and like we got really really great photos as like a full group together. So that was really neat.
That's awesome. And the group cosplays are always really impressive to see. Regardless of what stage everyone's at when they do it, because it just the level of commitment and then like the coordination and stuff, that's it's always really fun. So from there, how long before? Well, you know what? Let's just keep like how many other cosplays did you do after that? Like, was it a bunch of Sailor Moon stuff, or did you like then do some others? Between that and the beginning of Magic.
So I would say I made at least one more Sailor Mercury outfit. We did like little Christmas kind of like um cute Christmassy outfits and took pictures in those together.
Hmm.
So I made at least one more of those. And then that was also around the time that like My Hero Academia had just
Mm,
started coming out.
sure.
And so I really loved Miss Joke because she's just funny. She's always smiling and laughing, and like her literally her superpower is she makes people laugh into submission. Like that's just me in a nutshell. So I I made Miss Joke's costume, which in all fairness, her costume was like a black kind of like cut off shirt, but I did have to make these striped shorts,
Hmm.
which making anything with stripes is a pain, having to like cut all of the pieces and just sew
Mm.
them all together, and
Oh
making
wow.
stripes
Okay. Yeah.
is no fun because you can't, they're like teal and orange and nobody makes vertical teal and orange striped shorts, so you
Yeah. No.
I had to kind of make that fabric work for myself. um but I made like the shorts for that costume, and she had these like little wrist like wraparounds and stuff. So I made like I feel like a lot of costumes you can buy certain elements, but
Sure.
then if you want to be like close to a character, you've got to embellish it yourself. So that's kind of what I did with hers. I made the shorts, bought the shirt, like but made other like embellishing pieces.
Hmm.
So I did that, but this was also around like 20 the stuff doing like the Sailor Moon group and then the Miss Joke stuff. This was all between like I'd say 2018 to 2019,
Hmm.
and then you know what happened in 2020.
Sure.
So
Yeah. Why? What happened?
yeah. So
That's
I
fair.
was getting really into cosplay and doing stuff, and then obviously everything kind of shut down, and I was like, okay.
Hmm.
And that's around the time that I was no longer working long distance, and I was back
Mm.
home, and then I was home for a while, and that's when I started picking up magic. So magic was actually like a pandemic hobby for me as well.
Okay, that makes sense too. Um, so then, okay, that leads perfectly into the magic. So, what kind, like, when you started to decide you wanted to be the content creator, what aspect did you want to focus? Were you like, I'm just going to focus on the cosplay, or were you trying to do some of the other stuff? And oh, I can use cosplay too, like add to it. Like, how did you view that in terms of being a content creator and coming in with magic?
So, funny enough, I didn't enter the magic scene as a cosplayer. Like that was not my intention. I started playing on Arena with my now husband,
Mhm.
but being 2020, I didn't have any like in-person play opportunities.
Sure.
I had like Arena was all we had. So I started watching like streamers because the color challenges teach you basically like just how to play, and then they
Mm.
kind of like set you off into standard as like your baseline,
Right.
which I think that's actually pretty great. Like
Mhm.
standard is probably one of the better formats to like jump into if you're learning.
Absolutely. I agree.
So I started playing a lot of standard, but then and so I started looking at like Twitch streamers and seeing like, oh, what are these people doing and playing? And so I started watching some standard Twitch streamers, and I was like, okay. And then I think one of them rated into a limited Twitch streamer, and I was like, what is this format? Like I've never seen this. This is interesting and weird. Like they're just picking cards and building on the fly. Like what? I was
Yeah.
like blown away because
Right.
I didn't really know that much about like the different magic formats at that time.
Hmm.
And so when I started learning about limited, that's what like really like tickled my brain. I was like, I like this. It's hard and I don't understand it very well, but I've always loved puzzles, and it
Yeah.
felt like it was just like a puzzle that I was putting the pieces together like as they come. And to this day, limited is actually still my favorite format to play.
That's cool.
But yeah, so I started watching all these limited streamers, and me being the chatty Cathy that I am, I started like typing in their Twitch chats of like, oh, like asking questions and getting to know some of the other chatters. And one of them, he was actually I highly credit him to being the one that kind of taught me a lot of the basics on how to draft. He even did like a YouTube series. I think it's called The Joy of Drafting.
Mm.
His name is Simulin. I don't think he really streams much Magic anymore, but he used to stream all the time, and so I watched him and learned. And he would sometimes host these like chaos drafts.
Hmm.
There was a I don't know if it might actually still work, but there was like a site where you could go and basically pick packs, and you could draft on this site and then export your deck onto Arena and then
Wow.
play. And then you know how Arena has like you can challenge people. So all you have to do is share your friend code.
Hmm.
You can send challenges. So he would organize these like chaos drafts, and I started doing them. I had saved up some of my wild cards, and
Hmm.
I started chaos drafting. And then this was also around the time that some other streamers were putting together limited tournaments themselves. Hunter Pence, the baseball player that I think he owns Coral Sword down in Texas,
Okay.
he started hosting his what it was it was like the sweatsuit series because it was all these Twitch streamers at home wanting to play. And so I got invited to play in like that limited tournament,
Wow.
and
Nice.
did pretty well a couple times. I even played Hunter one of the times, and it was really cool.
Yeah.
um so I actually started at my magic content creation um as a streamer because I started doing the chaos drafts, and then I started like streaming occasionally, doing drafts,
Hmm.
and started meeting these other making these streamer friends and playing in their limited tournaments, and so Magic Limited streaming was actually my first like foray into Magic content creation.
That's really cool. So then
Yeah, I
what
don't think a lot of people know that.
No, definitely I did not. That's really cool. I mean, I've watched you once or twice when you were streaming, you were streaming like I think it was Arena at the time and you were just building stuff and just hanging out. But yeah, I didn't realize you basically started with limited. That's pretty cool. So then
Yeah.
what tipped you over into then bringing cosplay into Magic and just like was it just a matter of like, oh, you know what? I love playing these limited and these characters are adorable or hilarious. I want to just cosplay them. And then since I'm doing that, I'll go to this convention with it, you know.
Yeah. So, um, once the like play restrictions started lifting, and I was like very deep into Magic, just playing on Arena. I was like, I really love this game, and I'm starting to make these friends online. And once they finally started lifting restrictions and they started having events again, one of the I can probably say it's one of the very first events I ever went to. It was called Oktoberfest, and I want to say it was it in Philly or Pittsburgh? It was somewhere like on the East Coast that was like a few hours from my house.
Hmm.
Like it was drivable, but I had to like stay the night. So went up to that convention, and I saw that they had a cosplay contest. And that's what really did it for me, is that I was gonna go to this convention, meet some of the friends that I had made online through streaming, and just saw that they were gonna have a cosplay contest and have some like, awards for it. And I was like, okay, I could probably make a silly little outfit and wear that, and maybe we'll see. I don't know if I would win, but never hurts to try.
Yeah,
And so that's actually what got me like into it, because I hadn't cosplayed in a long time at that point.
sure.
And so just going to like knowing that I was going to go to this convention already, I was just like, why not? And so Fibblethip, that's when I made Fibblethip.
Hmm.
Like that was it.
Nice. I was
I
gonna ask
made
which
it
was the
about
first. Okay.
Yep. Fibblethip was my very first Magic cosplay, and it was for Oktoberfest, and made it like within 2 weeks of the con, because I it was like a last minute thing, is that I saw there was going to be a cosplay contest, and I was like, oh, I should probably bust something out if I'm actually going to do this. And so it was very quickly made. um, uh, but yeah, so I made Fibblethip and wore it to the cosplay contest. There were only two of us that entered.
Oh no.
So like, it
Yeah.
wasn't really a contest,
Right.
but I ended up winning. There was one other person,
Right.
but I ended up winning that cosplay contest. And people just thought it was like the goofiest little thing, and like, I mean, it was. Fibblethip
Yeah.
is one of like the silliest little guys you can think of, and it just made a lot of people smile, and like it made me smile. I was having a grand old time.
Hmm.
But that's really where it all kicked off, is Oktoberfest last minute idea to make a silly little guy and enter this cosplay contest.
That's very, very cool. So, and now that leads me into the next question, which I'm really curious to get your answer on this one. What is it about Fibblethip that draws you to him as a character so much? Because you didn't just do that. Like Fibblethip is kind of like, it's not your core, but of a magic identity. But I mean, you've done variations of Fibblethip. Like you've done the Sailor Moon Fibblethip and stuff, right? You've done different cosplays on him. So it's like you clearly love the character.
Yeah, I'd have to say that it was just that very first event that everybody's reaction was just so positive to this goofy little guy, that like, gave me a lot of confidence of like, okay, like I knew I liked this little guy, but I didn't know how much like the community would enjoy this costume.
Right.
And so, I mean, also, I'll just straight up say, making costumes takes a lot of time, energy, and effort. And
Mhm.
so, if you can rewear your costumes,
Mm.
more power to you. So
True.
that's why I kind of got the idea of like, all right, I mean, I've only worn this costume one time to a kind of small convention. I should, pull it back out and start wearing it to some of these other conventions. And then I think that was when they were starting to do the little Fibblethip pins where
Right.
Fibblethip was like dressed up. And I was like, oh, that's so smart and funny. It's like, wait a second, I can do that.
Yeah.
Like, why can't I do the thing that the pins are doing? And so it just became this like running joke of like, I'm gonna theme my Fibblethip outfits to like wherever we're going.
Hmm.
And it just kind of went from there. And I think it's gone over really well. And it's
Oh, it
always made
has.
me laugh. So like I think a costume's successful if it can make me like me as the wearer laugh and have a good time.
Absolutely, and it's always fun to see you in the costumes, and I think that's how we first met, when you were in costume whenever you came up, and we were like, hey, I think I know you, and like we talked for a bit, and you were like inside the little helmet, and like I think your husband was like, take the helmet off, you can't hear you, and you're like, you like, had to take the mask off a little bit or something, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
So keeping with cosplay for a little bit more, like what makes you motivated to keep doing it? Like, I mean, obviously, like we kind of touched on that just now, but the positive feedback and the joy of seeing people laugh and say, "Oh my gosh," because cosplaying Liliana and Nissa and Chandra is like, I mean, those are like the big tier women of magic. So sure, it makes sense. And all the Jace and Teferi, like those are the big men. The ones that like get those, but not many people are gonna do Fibblethip. But like
Yeah.
what but that's not all you've done. So what what keeps you going and like putting in the effort and the time and the money, because cosplay is definitely not a cheap hobby. So
No, it's not. I wish it was. Yeah, there are a lot of people that do the kind of like iconic characters, and that's incredible. Like their costumes are not easy. Like those, they're very iconic, and like getting those iconic pieces together hard and a lot of work and a lot of money.
mhm.
So like props to them for doing those. For me, it's always been about like I've always been drawn to just like the unexpected. Like something that's like weird and different, and that is what excites me, is seeing something that you've probably never seen before,
Mhm.
because you know it like, how do you make this, like, and that's, I like puzzles, and that for me, it's kind of like solving a puzzle. Like when I made my grist costume and those arms that move, like
Mhm.
that was, I had to like turn the engineering brain on and be like, how am I actually going to make this function, and how am I also going to travel, across the Atlantic Ocean with this,
Mhm.
and be able to like reassemble it. So it. I like things that are a challenge. I've realized that sometimes those challenges are really hard, and they can make you cry a lot. But when you get it together, it's really sad.
Proud through the
But
tears. At least I did it, you son of a bitch.
yeah, if I don't know if you're a real cosplayer if you haven't cried at least once.
Oh yeah, I follow a fair amount of cosplayers on like different platforms and stuff, and obviously the big names and stuff, and even the big names, they're always doing the con crunch. They're always doing like why did I pick this? Why am I so stupid? And then like the that kind of stuff, and then it gets done and it's awesome, and then then it's like, okay, it was worth it.
Yeah. But I've just always really been drawn to like silly, like weird, unexpected stuff. And that's kind of how I go about choosing what I want to do next. Is it is it fun? Is it gonna be, is there like an interesting aspect that really drew me in that I want to like see or bring to life? And that's how I ended up on Fibblethip, because I was like, what a silly little guy. I've never seen that before.
Hmm.
Like this would be funny. And it also just like characters that make me smile or laugh. Like there's been plenty of characters I've seen and I was like, I would love to cosplay that. And then time passes, and
Hmm.
it just falls off. Like as soon as I saw Shrufus, I was like, I really would love to be Shrufus, because it's just a silly goofy little guy, and
Right.
like I love that. if
Yeah.
it if it's a character that just makes me laugh and smile, like my brain's like, you should be that.
Nice. All right. So, if you could go back to the start of your creator journey, is there anything you would like change to just make it a little bit easier? Like, just it is kind of the if I knew then what I knew now, but not to the extent of like completely redoing it, but just like, oh man, you know, when I'm streaming, I should just stream for a shorter amount of time, or stream longer, or whatever, or like You know, something.
Oh, this is hard because I I feel like with the streaming part, like I had a lot of fun with it. I wish I was a little bit more consistent and I kept going with it.
Hmm.
But life happens and
Sure.
you know, things come up, you get busy. I think that's just like a thing for me in general in my life is I wish I was more consistent with my hobbies and that
Hmm.
I didn't just start something and then, get distracted or have something else come up and then I put something down and then I'm working on something else. So I think I would go back and be like, fix your schedule. Make sure you stick with your hobbies and
Right.
don't like just, do it for like 3 weeks and then be like, okay, moving on to the next thing because the first thing is actually what you really love the most.
Right.
I love streaming, and I really want to get back to it. And I want to be consistent with it.
Hmm.
So I think that would be my advice to old me: is stick with it. Stop picking things up and putting them down.
Stop jumping around. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I gotcha. What is a piece of content? And again, this is when I say content, I also mean like all of your stuff. So streaming or
Mhm.
cosplay, whatever makes the most sense for you for the question. But what is a piece of content that you are most proud of, and why?
I would say probably my grist costume. Like that one was really hard. Like it had a lot of layers to
Hmm.
it that had to be solved and it was challenging. Um for me, it was also the very first time that Wizards hired me as like a featured cosplayer. So like that in itself was a huge like achievement. And I think that's probably just the one thing that I am either that or Slimefoot because Slimefoot was also extremely hard and had its own challenges and was difficult. And that was the first like I won MagicCon Minneapolis. I was the best in show winner with Slimefoot. So like it's really hard because those two costumes were both very, very hard builds that took months of time and energy to make and bring to life, and they both had, like, over the top things that went with them,
Right.
and, so it's kind of a toss-up, but I would say making those 2 costumes are, like, my 2, like, biggest things, and they're kind of equally tied because
Hmm.
it's hard to choose one over the other.
No, I get that for sure. That's like that is an acceptable answer. You don't have to just to have the one. Um, And okay, so tying into that a little bit because you kind of make it, but what would be your hell yeah moment within your journey so far? Like, what was it that something that happened as a creator or whatever that just made you go, yeah, I'm really a part of this. Like, I've arrived, not arrived, but you get what I'm saying. Like, what really made you feel that it was worth it, and this is finally some recognition that of all the hard work you did.
I would say winning with Slimefoot, like,
Yeah,
that was a huge one 'cause, um, I went to MagicCon Minneapolis was my very first MagicCon,
nice.
and I I had met, like, some of my content creator friends out at Oktoberfest, and I'd met some other people, but I hadn't really, like, met a lot of them, and, I had met some, but, like, there were a lot of, like, bigger creators
Yeah.
and, like, people that I really, like, looked up to that were gonna be at MagicCon, and so going there was huge for me just because it's a huge event,
Yeah.
and wearing the costume and even before I ever stepped on that stage,
Hmm.
just all of the people while wearing it through the hall that would stop and were like gawking, like, "Oh my gosh, that's crazy," and
Hmm.
like ask for pictures and all this stuff. Like that moment alone was huge because it was like, okay, I actually made something pretty dang cool.
Yeah.
Because I had never competed like that. Like I was really anxious with Thib at Oktoberfest, but when it's you and one other person, and you're also friends with that other person, like
Yeah.
it's less stressful.
Sure.
Whereas when you're competing like on a larger like a huge stage with like hundreds of people in the audience, like it's a very different vibe and just I had never really made something of the magnitude that Slimefoot was,
Right.
and so, like, bringing this huge costume, I didn't know how it was gonna be perceived. I was nervous as all get out, and just having people walk up to me and, ask for photos and, like, telling me how cool they thought it was, like, that alone really made me feel like I've done something pretty cool here. And then obviously when you go on the stage and you get to do your stage walk and then they're like announcing the winners. And they had, of course, best in show was the last thing they announced, and so after they announced like runner up, I was like, oh, I guess I didn't win anything. And then they
Right.
call your name, you're like, oh my god, I won the whole thing.
That
Like,
is fantastic.
I granted I had like the whole costume on, so you couldn't see my face, but I was like,
Right.
I'm sure my mouth like dropped and was like in utter disbelief. And then I said like when they asked like how I'm feeling, I said the most embarrassing thing. They were like, how are you feeling right, or like what are you thinking right now? And I'm like, slimy thoughts. And I'm like, oh my god, why would that be what you came out of your mouth? So
That made more sense in my head, I swear.
I was so mortified. I was like, did you really said that, Misha? You really said that.
Oh, that's the best. That's the best ending to it, though. I mean, it's like this culmination of your hard work, and then this amazing accolade, and like first time going, your first MagicCon, and then it's like, oh god damn it.
Yep.
That's
My
sweet though.
after I met back up with my husband, he's like, you did say that. And I was like,
I have it on
yep.
video now.
But yeah, like that was huge. And
Definitely.
like it made me feel very validated, just knowing that like all of that time and energy and all those tears really paid off.
That's great.
So,
And that's definitely a really awesome hell yeah moment too. I mean, just for something that big. So with relation to either part of the your content, what is a part of your personality that you feel shines through with your content?
I think my just like sense of humor, like
Hmm.
I like to think I'm pretty funny, and I think anytime I make a costume, like I always pick, something that if I'm picking something that makes me laugh, like I'm sure my humor is coming through. Of like
Yeah.
like if I think it's funny, I hope you think it's funny.
Right.
So I that's one thing, is that I hope, or I very much hope, that my sense of humor comes through in my content.
Mhm. I think so. I think I can definitely pick that up because and again like with like saying it's your sense of humor and stuff, it's not like your quality of cosplay is still very good. Like you have high expectations of yourself and you shows and you bring it through with your cosplay. It's just you're cosplaying silly characters or weird characters or something like that. So it's like I can that brings forth that shows for sure that you have a fun sense of humor. Has working on your content helped to strengthen any weaknesses you may have had, like being shy, public speaking, or maybe if it's a more practical thing, like with the actual construction of or design of your costumes or anything like that?
Oh, I have grown tremendously as like a cosplay maker. When I first started out, I didn't know like how to properly do like foam crafting, and
Hmm.
my sewing was very subpar. Like, would it stay together? Yeah. Would it look nice? Absolutely not. So going through this process, there's been so many different like crafting techniques and things I've learned. I had a roommate that was like a master craftsman, and they taught me a lot, which like I wouldn't have been able to make Slimefoot if it wasn't for like, their guidance and assistance
Hmm.
and just teaching me. And then, as I've, gone on, I've met a lot of other cosplayers in the community. And so I've, obviously like sometimes reached out and be like, how would you do this? Or what, like, so having
Hmm.
a community of cosplayers in that are also like in the magic community as well, has been really helpful. But yeah, I am leaps and bounds ahead of where I was um, as a crafter
Hmm.
when I started.
Makes sense. Okay, so
There's a
here's
lot of skills, so many skills.
that's true. That's the thing though. For something like that, yeah, you especially if you branch into the cosplays that do require like props or physical like more like not just fabric stuff but actual like armor or whatever. You're going into areas that have nothing to do with actual fashion necessarily, or like design. It's
Yeah.
like now, yeah, that's I always am in awe of the ones that have any kind of armor or like I there was times where I would have loved to have had the time and effort and money to do like a Darkhawk cosplay from Marvel because he's a favorite like lesser known Marvel character that I really enjoy and but that would just be full armor. It's like basically like Iron Man almost, and the wings and stuff. And it's like that would be I don't even know what to start with something like that, and that's not just easy. Oh, I can just get a pattern and start cutting some fabric. So yes, I completely understand how that would grow and help you. Has anything from your cosplay, like learning your and getting better in cosplay, has any of that translated to anything else in your life that have helped you? Like, oh, I learned how to do this on the cosplay, and it actually helps me build this thing over here in my actual house, or or just like, your like the troubleshooting, and the puzzle thing. Like, oh, because I focused on this with cosplay, it really helped me in this other aspect.
Yeah, it's funny. I was at a job. I had a job recently, and part of that was like cutting out these little paper tickets, like using it was essentially using a Cricut machine. And I
Okay.
was like, oh, I know how to do that. I've used a Cricut for many of things. So like the fact that knowing how to like use a Cricut was applicable in like an actual job task, I was like, okay, sure, easy peasy. And like that was just like a really funny one that happened somewhat recently. Um, but yeah, honestly, being able to just like take a person's measurements,
Hmm.
like that's useful in like certain ways, like helping people out, like if they're um just wanting to like do their own measurement tracking. Like there's a lot of things.
Hmm.
I couldn't even think of them, but like I'm an like my background's in engineering, and so there's been a lot of things that like from engineering that have helped me in cosplay, like
Okay.
learning how to like trace like patterns and like just figuring out how to do like certain alterations. But then there's these skills are very applicable. Like you can take them back and forth of
Sure.
like a lot of patterning. And my husband does a lot of our like 3D or 3D printing, and
Hmm.
so he's the one that I rely on more for like the 3D printing design work. But like even stuff like that is, useful skills outside of cosplay if you just
Sure.
want to make something that's like useful in your house.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. All right, so if magic went away tomorrow, it had existed, but somehow the cards are just gone. There's no more. They're not ever making it again. Would you take your content creation to something else and like follow a different path for like what would you maybe move to comics or anime or something for your or back to anime, I guess I should say, for your cosplays, or would you just be like, you know what, I had a good run, I'm done with the content creation aspect, and move on to something else?
Yeah, I would probably just be a variety streamer. Like I already like playing other video games,
Hmm.
and I've always streaming has always been the thing that I've really loved the most. And so I would probably just start streaming other video games and like variety streaming. I have thought about like cuz there are some magic creators that also do like anime like stuff, or like they talk about like lore of video games,
Right.
and I really enjoy when I see their videos, especially when it's like a show I've watched. And I watch a lot of anime. Like
Hmm.
I am I am well versed in the anime, whether it be good or bad.
Right.
I have watched it all, and I can let you know. So I have definitely thought about like going on and talking about like my thoughts about like the different animes I watch, and basically letting people know like, is it worth your time or
Hmm.
not? Here, I've already spent the time, let me tell you.
Hmm.
Things like that would be fun. But yeah, I think it would either probably be anime based or just like variety streaming. That's probably where I would go, just because those are things I already love and I already do. So it wouldn't be hard to pivot content to do something I already love and do.
Absolutely. Good point. So this one's always a fun one too, the question. So pie in the sky, what would you love to see your content become in the future if there was no limits? No financial limits, no time limits, like you had what you needed and you could build it however you wanted. What would you want Misha to become?
Ooh, that's hard because if I just had like all the time in the world, all the money, um, I would love to make some like insanely crazy, detailed, cool cosplays. I'd also like to have a team helping me because doing them by yourself is really hard. Um,
Sure.
but like there are definitely like some like stuff like I have ideas in my head of things like I would love to bring to life that I'm like, I just don't feasibly know how I would do this already. So like
Hmm.
there are some costumes that I'd like I would really love to make this and make it in a certain kind of way. Let me give you just one of the examples.
Absolutely. That's what we're here for.
I one of my dream cosplays would be to make a life-size Get Rog monster that would be like, from the inside, like you can it'd be probably have to be like on wheels that you could like kind of like push around and like move, because obviously a giant frog is I'm not as big as a Get Rog monster.
Right.
Um unfortunately.
Or
So it would be
fortunately,
like
I don't know,
something.
like depends.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate. I think it'd be really cool. Um, but and I also would like to want to be able to open and close the mouth so that people could technically like put their head in and I could just
Yeah,
chomp them.
right.
So like that would be a dream of mine to make a like life-size Get Rog monster that can move around, maybe have a saddle because you can saddle the Get Rog monster
Yep,
now,
yep.
and that can bite. I want it to bite.
That is fantastic. All right, quick, make notes. So we gotta do that first. No, I'm just kidding. But that's great. That would be really cool. I mean, I feel that if you got together, basically what you should, not what you should do, but like it would be cool if you got with some of the other creators that we all know, like, and just made your own super team out of it, get Amara, get everybody and be like, okay, here's how do we design it? Boom, boom. And then it's like, all right, what kind of pieces, how can we assemble it? So you build this leg, you build that leg, I'll build the top of the mount, and then like see if you can get with wizards to see if they'd like help semi-sponsor it and then just have it. Cause it could be like, that'd be so much fun. It could be like one of the, cause they have all those things that you can climb on and stuff
Hmm.
as like just for fun. Like I don't think you'd be able to build it so someone could climb on it because that would have to have a lot of
There's a
structural
lot of
integrity.
liability with that.
Yeah, that would be. But still, that would be basically one of their like fun.
Yeah, the attractions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
attraction props. Yeah, exactly. Just have that thing running around and then have a set space for it for like a couple hours every day where you can get your picture taken with it. Man,
Mhm.
I would love to see that. If I could help you in any way, let me know because that sounds fun.
Honestly, the biggest obstacle is how do I get it to the convention?
Well, like like you said with the other cosplays and stuff, you have it Legoized where you can break it apart and it's just like connect a couple bolts here and there and some snaps, and so it's like you'd have to ship it. I mean, for sure, you couldn't just jam that into a suitcase. But
Yeah, it's like one of those like it makes me think of like a circus trailer. Like I'd need one of those to, like pull it along behind.
yeah,
If I want it to be as big as I envision, like
right. It's crazy. Like, you could even do it like, man, they could rig it like a toy so that as it's rolling, the mouth is just moving.
oh yeah, all you need is like some gears inside.
Yeah. So as like the legs are going, as it's supposedly hopping around, it's just and then like you can detach it from that and then do actual manual mouths for eating people. That's great.
Yeah, but that's the stuff that like goes around through my head of like, wouldn't this be neat?
Yeah, Michael, the gathering in the chat is like, that's why you need logistics people on the team for sure. Good
Yeah.
call. Making sure that you can get it from point A to point B. All right, so what like we kind of touched on it a little bit too because of what you mentioned with anime and such. But what other kind of hobbies do you have besides Magic the Gathering that takes up your time?
I'm a big old weeb. I love watching anime. Like that's if I have some downtime and I'm just kind of tired and not really feeling like, getting invested in a game or anything like that, like I am usually watching animes.
Hmm?
Or if it's not anime, I am huge into any type of game show. If you can gamify anything,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm going to watch it cuz I love having like competition. I love seeing a winner and like I have watched the most ridiculous game shows, and I love them all dearly. So yeah, my shows I like to watch are either anime or game shows.
Mm-hmm.
I love playing video games. I've got a whole Steam list of games that I like to play. So video games is a big one. Gosh, what else do I do? You do stuff, Misha. Um, but what? I like to go roller skating. I
Nice.
haven't been in a while, but I for a while I was really into roller derby, and then I broke my leg, and then I
Mm.
wasn't very into it, and then so
Yeah.
I still like to roller skate though.
Yeah.
When I get the chance. I've started going back and doing like Zumba classes at the YMCA.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit of dancing. I love karaoke. I'm not a great singer by any means, but I can pretend.
Right.
And
Nice.
um, gosh, what else? I love puzzles. Like I
Mhm.
love a good board game, a good puzzle. I will do those a lot.
Okay.
um, yeah. Like I said, I pick up a lot of hobbies and I really do like enjoy a lot of different things. But then like I find something new and then it's just like, oh yeah.
Sure.
So like I got really into embroidery and made some cool embroidery things and I'd like to get back to doing embroidery at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But you only have so many hours in a
That's the
day.
problem for sure. Like what? So with anime, what are your favorite types? Like, are you a big? I personally, I'm the same. Like, if I'm just like, I don't feel like doing anything. It's on the couch, Crunchyroll. What am I gonna watch? Like, and I'm big into the isekai. So like, are you isekai? Are you action? Are you like rom coms or slice of life? What kind of stuff do you like?
It might actually be easier to list the kind of stuff I don't like. I'm not really big into like mecha animes.
Mhm.
Like there's some of them like I really love like Eureka 7. I'd consider that a mecha anime, but it's more of a romance like sci-fi.
Okay.
So but yeah, for some reason mecha animes and like car animes, like ones that are about like racing,
Hmm.
I'm not huge in, but I'll I'll power watch any kind of sports anime. The one about golf, I didn't think I would like one of the golf ones, but then I watched the whole thing. I was like, it was actually pretty good. But I do love a good isekai, a good like shonen like protagonist, like
Hmm.
I love a good shonen. I do like my slice of life and romance shows. I'm kind of picky though, so I'm somewhat picky. I've watched a few of them recently where I'm like, I don't like how that ended. We
Mm.
shouldn't have ended up together.
No, I get that. Sure.
But yeah, I like so many of them. Like
That's fair. That's a fair answer. I'm with you. Like I tend to search for like more isekais, but like I've watched plenty of like the Slice for Life that are just cute or funny or whatever or sweet. And then like, of course the shonens are good and like anything that's like I love a good OP protagonist, and watch them get even like I don't want them to not have any challenge, but I like it when they can just like come in and like stomp for a while and then oh this is tough. I gotta get better. Okay, I'm better. Now stomp some more. You know.
I I will say I think my favorite genre tends to be like the dark suspenseful ones. Like one of my favorite shows is Akame ga Kill, and it has like that kind of shonen where like the you've got like a team of all these like overpowered people, but they're also fighting a corrupt government and stuff.
Mm.
And so it's like, and the very first episode gets really dark really fast. And the very first time I watched it, I was just like, oh. Oh, okay. I'm here for it.
Okay.
But yeah, Akame ga Kill and Death Parade, that's another one that I
Okay.
like two of my absolute favorite animes out there. Um they're both really dark. Dark and suspenseful is I enjoy that. That's the type of show that keeps me like coming back of like what happens next.
Right.
I'm such a it's like a thriller and I just need to see what happens.
All right. Misha's got a dark side, everybody. We got that now. We hiding behind the bubbly little Philip cosplays and then the giggles. It's actually some dark. I've seen some stuff. Okay, so let's last question. We'll wrap it up with something fun and not out there, but what is a dream location you would want to visit that you haven't already?
Oh, this is pretty easy. I was actually just talking to a friend about it yesterday. I mean, I'm a huge weeb. I would love to go to Japan. I want to go where they make the anime.
Yep.
I want to I want to see it. I want to go there. I want to experience the places that are in all these shows I've watched. I've always wanted to go to Japan and like, specifically like Tokyo and
Yep.
just see all the cool sights there are to see.
It's so funny how I ask that like almost every who's that creator, and that tends to be the biggest answer. I mean, I'm with you. I want to as well, because I love. Uh, Obviously, I also am a weeb. I love that the anime and the action figure aspect, and to see all these cool things. But I also love. I've always been a huge fan of the aesthetic and the history of Japan, and like. So I'd love to go visit some of the temples and some of the architecture and stuff and see these epic, landscapes. So I'd have to split my time between the two. Yeah, But all right. Well, those are all the questions I have for you, Misha. I am super grateful that you gave me an hour of your time to chat and get to know you a little better, and I learned some cool stuff about you, which is cool. I hope everyone out there watching had a good time. Remember the link tree is in the chat there, so please go follow Misha on her socials and check out all of her cool cosplays and stuff. We're going to. I think we're going to raid over into Filthy MTG Casuals. So please stick around for a couple more seconds, guys, and give them some love and some hellos. But while I'm doing that, Misha, please again tell everybody like where they can find you and give yourself any plugs of anything that you got coming up or whatever you like.
Yeah, Of course. Hi, everybody. I'm Magic Mishamigo. You can find me most places at magic_Mishamigo, except on Blue Sky because you can't have underscores there, so it's all smushed together. I'm a Magic cosplayer, content creator, certified little guy. Um, Things coming up. Next month is actually going to be Shoebox. I am running the carnival area there, so I'll have cosplayers running a bunch of booths with like indie formats that you can come and try out, and that'll be a ton of fun. And there'll also be an indie format showcase where the creators of some of these formats will be there showing off their stuff. So I'm really excited to be at Shoebox. This is the first time it's happening. It's being put on by a great group of people.
Mhm.
So being there and being able to be part of like this inaugural event is just going to be really exciting. Also be at SCG Richmond. I'm judging on Saturday, but I will be around to just have fun and hang out and play games on both Friday and Sunday. And then the last thing I've got coming up is Magic on Vegas. I'll be there in May. So if you're going to any of those events, I'll be around and would love to play games. So yeah, that's where I'll be.